QAnon has been trending a lot in the news lately, especially in relation to how it's been used to smear the John Birch Society. Is QAnon and the John Birch Society actually related, like the news media would have you to believe? Well, joining us today to discuss QAnon and the John Birch Society is Executive Field Coordinator for the Society, Evan Mulch. Thank you for joining us today, Evan.
Hey, Christian. How are you?
Hi, Evan. So, we've, as I said in the introduction right there, the John Birch Society has come up in a lot of news articles. Washington Post, WAPO, the New Yorker magazine even have been writing about the John Birch Society lately in talking about the latest QAnon phenomenon and the storming of the Capitol, mostly by perpetrators who were all Q followers. Is this a fair comparison? QAnon today, John Birch Society in the 60s and 50s?
No, not at all. In fact, today we were the ones warning people about QAnon, and I had to stop a lot of people from participating in the society that took the QAnon stuff too seriously, because, of course, a lot of it misled people, and you could see in a lot of people that just grasped onto it, things just did not add up, and it was a very serious problem the past few years, and I still regret that President Trump didn't, go against the QAnon believers, because a lot of them had trust in Trump that he was with QAnon, and so it got a lot of people who had a lot of energy, and it misled them. And so to compare it to us in the 60s, that'd be a far reach. We were definitely not QAnon in the 60s. We were a fact-based organization. We didn't need to make up riddles to tell people what was going on. Robert Welch, our founder, was all about telling people the truth, the way it actually was, and we're still like that today. We don't need to make up silly riddles to get people to think, move in the direction we want them to move.
Now, speaking of Robert Welch, he wrote two pamphlets, booklets for the John Birch Society at the time in the 60s. One was called The Neutralizers, and the other one was called Tangents. And in Tangents, he talks about these different tangents or distractions that move people away from working on the educational action project items of the John Birch Society. And with Neutralizers, he discusses these other things that come in the way that neutralize conservative activists from being effective. Would you say that QAnon is a distraction and a neutralizer for conservative and patriot activists today?
Absolutely. I saw this up front. QAnon definitely got in the way of a lot of good, meaning Americans, from doing their job, especially during the time that we're going through right now. We needed more Americans stepping up to the plate, doing what's right as American activists and making things really happen. And they lost a lot of credibility along the way. And a lot of them probably going to have a hard time recovering from the fact that Hillary Clinton's not locked up, Assange was not released, he was not pardoned. And so a lot of them are going to have a very difficult time getting past this. And if they'd have read the John Birch Society material, if they'd kept up with what we're doing, they would have realized that they were in the wrong. And unfortunately, I've seen a lot of friends go down this path, a lot of friends that I've known in political activism for a long time. And unfortunately for them, it's a hard, rude awakening. And I just hope that they can not necessarily repent, but just recover and just rethink the way they were doing things, and hopefully join the John Birch Society fully, so that they can. I'm not saying, when I say fully, I mean there's people who join the John Birch Society and don't actually participate a whole lot, but hopefully a lot of these QAnon people, the good ones, because there are some people who had evil intent. We saw that during the Trump rally in D.C. But hopefully the good ones that had good meaning in their hearts to do the right thing, hopefully they'll have newfound respect for the John Birch Society, and we'll really dig in deep to what the true solution is to restoring a republic. Because we have the solution, we just don't have the people for it. We've got a lot of people, just not enough. And we just need more people who will devote their time, talent, and money to our organization, and we're going to start winning a lot more. But I can tell you, with as many QAnon supporters as there were, if we'd had those in the Birch Society, we would have made some gigantic dents in the past few years with their help. But they got misled, and it's unfortunate. And anyways, it's been a big distraction.
So what do you make of these Q followers? For example, this Jake Angeli, also known as Q Shaman, the barbarian or Viking with the horns who stormed the Senate chamber, actually, and has said that he trusts the Q Anon stuff because he believes that they are military intelligence that's behind closed doors, dropping these clues as to what's really going on. Do you recommend that Birchers or the patriot activists in general trust anyone that claims to be or alludes to possibly being military intelligence?
I say trust people you can see face to face. Trust groups that have been around for a long time. I saw people who were in military intelligence that actually believed in Q. So this guy that wore the horns, going around the White House, he may have actually believed in it, maybe because he met military people that believed in it, and maybe because QAnon spoke their language. Maybe there was the way that the communication was done made people feel secure that it was the military that was coming to save America. And that just wasn't the case. And I don't know what to think of all these people that were dressed funny. But I just think it goes to show that we have a lot of adult children in America, and a lot of them are gullible. And I'm not calling anybody an agent provocateur, but there's that problem too, where some of these people could have been agent provocateurs, and that's something we do warn about in the John Birch Society. So I feel like people like that need a lot of help. And sometimes they're just not fully grown up. They're going to remain gullible maybe the rest of their life, and you just got to feel bad for people like that and still help them the best they can. But they're not going to be a good fit for the John Birch Society ever. In fact, I couldn't approve of a membership of somebody that wanted to wear horns to a chapter meeting and to dress in a funny looking attire like some of these people. I couldn't let people into my territory, and this goes for all field corners. Anybody that seems like they're up to something that would go completely against what the John Birch Society stands for. We can't approve of memberships of people who aren't a good fit for the John Birch Society, and that's the reason why we're set up the way we are as far as field coordinators go. Is we've got to. My job as a field coordinator is to make sure the right people get into the society, and it's not an easy job, but with the intelligence that we get from headquarters on what's going on with our monthly bulletin and our magazine, it makes the job a lot easier to figure out who should join, who should be allowed to join, and who shouldn't be allowed to join.
Absolutely. So now that President Biden has been sworn in as president, do you think that there's any reason to trust that Trump might somehow become president come March, as some of the Q people are saying online? Or should these people who are still trusting, even today, after Biden has been sworn in as president, do you think it's time for them to drop this stuff and maybe start looking at alternative educational sources and actually do something effective for the conservative movement?
Yeah, drop it today. Get a subscription to the New American Magazine. If you want to make an application to join, if you're a good fit, you may qualify. If somebody's a diehard QAnon person, if they're that gullible, I may have a hard time approving of that person's membership. But do something that benefits Americanism. Don't wait for your hero to come back in. And I know President Trump's a hero to a lot of people, but the belief that they had of President Trump was just they forgot that he was a normal guy. And a lot of people have alerted people to this fact. President Trump is not a superhero. President Trump is a normal person just like you and me. He puts his pants on every day. He ties his tie every day, and he's just a normal human being. And it's sad that some people thought that JFK Jr., who was killed in a plane accident years ago, was actually behind the scenes doing the QAnon thing, and they thought JFK Jr. was going to help President Trump save the United States. Then JFK Jr. would reveal himself. And what a terrible thing to do to JFK Jr.'s family. And the reason why this stuck out to me is I actually went to a Tea Party meeting when I first heard about QAnon, and the Tea Party leader at the time gave a huge presentation about how JFK Jr. was the one behind the scenes leading QAnon. And so anyways, we can't lose credibility by being Americanists. When we're Americanists, we've got to remain true to what's fact and what isn't fact, and we just can't fall for things. And I just urge everybody to just play it safe out there, okay?
Absolutely. We need to combat the false news coming from the left as much as it's coming also from the right with this QAnon stuff. Well, thank you, Ivan. We'll be back with you after this short break. And we're back with Evan Mulch, the Executive Field Coordinator for the John Birch Society. Evan, thanks for being with us again today.
Hey, glad to be here.
So, back in the 1980s, we had President Ronald Reagan in the White House, and many conservatives, of course, you could say were asleep at the wheel. And when it came to the John Birch Society's membership, from what I understand, there weren't that many people joining the John Birch Society, but under President Trump, there was a lot more activity. What do you attribute that to, and where do you see JBS going from here now that we have Biden and Kamala Harris in the White House?
I think a lot of it had to do with field coordinators. Field coordinators really stuck with it the past few years. We've had the internet to use, social media. I think it's one of the reasons why these social media giants are trying to take us off, is because we were able to spread so much truth that even if you think we're winning, you still need to be part of a society, our society, the John Birch Society, in order to win. And a lot of people, once you become part of the society, it's sort of addictive. You like this feeling of truth, this feeling of spreading the truth. You like going to county council meetings, whatever meetings you go to, just being able to hand out the New American Magazine. This is the one that's coming out the next few days. So you enjoy it. Our members a lot of times live to be really old, and they're very active chapter leaders, a lot of them, at a very old age. Well, it's because they found it enjoyable. And I'm not saying that this didn't happen during the Ronald Reagan era, but I think a couple devastating things happened to the society. Robert Welch passed away. Larry McDonald was on that flight from Alaska to South Korea that was shot down, and so there was just a lot of trouble at that time that the society had to go through, a lot of hard times. And I think maybe we didn't have everything together at that point in time, where we had a really strong a network of communicating what's actually happening. I think we probably did, but the thing about Ronald Reagan, he was like our first president during the time of the society since 1958 that really came out and made it sound like we were winning, that the John Birch Society had a role in defeating the communist conspiracy, although Reagan never called it the conspiracy. But I'll tell you, a lot of people knew that Reagan wasn't going to help us win when his vice president was announced. And as you know, that was George H.W. Bush. I had this kind of same feeling when Mike Pence was announced as Trump's vice president, because what I did is I watched the neocons, the George Bush or the Jeb Bush supporters in my area, and when Mike Pence was announced as the vice president, they went crazy in support for Trump. They were never Trumpers until Mike Pence was
which is pretty telling.
Yes,
and one of the beauties about the John Birch Society and membership is that members, if they're a print member to the John Birch Society, and I know we have digital memberships in the society, but those who get the print membership to the John Birch Society, they get the bulletin each month, and they get 2 issues of our magazine, the New American Magazine. And the New American Magazine produces the Freedom Index. And Mike Pence, before he was Trump's vice president, governor of Indiana, but before that, he was a member of the U.S. House of Representatives. And on the John Birch Society's on the newamerican.com, we provide the Freedom Index scores for members of Congress. And if you were able to go back and look at Mike Pence's Freedom Index score for when he served in the House, it's pretty dismal, about 60 or so percent. So the magazine, The New American, can help conservative activists out there filter out these conservatives that all of a sudden we're told this is a great conservative. Yeah. And then you look at the Freedom Index score. Is he or she voting in accordance with the Constitution? And we look at Mike Pence's score and our Freedom Index, not so high like many would expect it to be. So
this year I want people to take the word conservative out of their vocabulary and use Americanist, because we're going to be doing more winning when we call ourselves Americanists. Let the conservatives be called conservatives if that's what they are. But we need to be bringing people to Americanism, and I really make that a point, because too often our members call themselves conservatives, and that's not correct. What are you conserving? Some conservatives are conserving a welfare state. Some conservatives conserve war. Americanists do one. We specifically we believe in God-given rights to life, liberty, and property. And so in the next year, I hope that is something we can instill in more and more members across our republic, because that's so important. I hate to butt in, Christian, but I just wanted to say that.
Absolutely, you are correct. In fact, the name, the New American, it has that name because it was named after an essay that Robert Welch wrote about the New Americanism, where he described the concept of Americanism, and that's why the magazine is called the New American. And the Freedom Index used to be called the Conservative Index up until like 2003 or 2004 or so, when it became changed to the Freedom Index because of that very thought. Like, conservatism has come to the point where it almost means nothing, because someone like Dick Cheney, Liz Cheney, George W. Bush, Mitt Romney, McCain, they will say that they are conservative, but what are they really conserving? The deep state, big government from the past administrations? So they're not. So conservatism has lost its meaning. So Americanism is a far better term, or even constitutionalist, as many in the JBS and in the New American magazine use. But what do you expect to happen in the next 4 years under the Biden-Kamala Harris administration that's now been sworn into office? What challenges or opportunities does this bring for the John Birch Society in your estimation?
Well, John Birch Society membership's going to boom. I mean, people who are awake are really going to wake up because they're going for broke. The globalists are running naked to the finish line, and we are the only legit organization out there that actually has field coordinators coordinating the effort to win America and restore America back. And so the more and more people that wake up to this, I know a lot of people have been asleep. A lot of people just didn't want to believe it was true, but it's going to be great for the society. There is tons of hope when it comes to the opportunity for the society to grow, and officially have 500 field coordinators out in the field. That's what we need. We have to have a field coordinator in every congressional district if we're going to win. And all that takes is 500 members in a congressional district. If you had 500 members in a congressional district, they all contributed $30 a month. That's enough to easily pay for a field coordinator and send money to headquarters to help pay for staff at headquarters. So if Americans become more and more zeroed in on the enemy and the solution, and we are the solution, the John Birch Society, we are going to grow like crazy, and we are going to have field coordinators in just more and more places, and we're never going to let this happen again. The deep state, it seems like it's taken over. Every county I'm in, it seems like the deep state has a huge role in every county. That's how deep the deep state is. But as more and more people awaken, as long as they get their membership with the John Birch Society, we're just going to grow like crazy, and it's going to be awesome. I can't wait to see what comes of it. I don't like seeing what's happening with Biden. He just put a person in office on his cabinet that's apparently a man that wants to pretend he's a woman. I don't like that. I think that's crazy. But you know what?
Secretary of Health from Pennsylvania under Governor Tom Wolf to be named Assistant Secretary of Health.
I think that's going to wake a lot of people up, and thank God, because that is crazy. You can't have people who don't even know what sex they are in leadership positions. I mean, it's just they need to get themselves figured out before they try to fix governmental problems. And when those type of people become in charge of government, only bad things happen. And I say this out of love, because in my faith, you love everybody. But we cannot be putting people like that in power. It's a grave situation when you have people who can't even figure out what sex they are, and they're put in a big time leadership position.
Absolutely. Well, Evan Mulch, thank you so much for your time, of course. And do you have a last word or message that you would say to people out there that are considering joining the John Birch Society, but maybe are a little iffy or on the fence about making a commitment to joining an organization and being active?
You can only do this with God's help. Be in prayer. Pray for God to give you the strength to join and to be active and to be courageous and to do things that you've never done before. It feels really good once you start doing it. It gives you chills. It brings people together. You'll find your best friends in the Birch Society. It's just, I can't say enough good things about what will come, but always God first, okay? That's the first thing. And I think a lot of organizations, they're not really God first, even though they say it. The Birch Society, we've always been doing this with God's help. And as long as you put God first, you put your faith first, you live with no fear, you only fear God, that is the most relieving thing that you'll have as a Birch. If you join the John Birch Society, you'll be around other people that have those same feelings, that have that same courage. We've read about it in our magazine. So many people that joined the John Birch Society and became better patriots because they were around other Birchers. And I want you, if you're watching this, to join the John Birch Society. Go to jbs.org/join, jbs.org/join, and join us And because if you're looking for that feeling of what it's like to be around other patriots, this is your opportunity. So please make that happen if it's in your heart, and just do it with God's help, please.
Yeah, that's the way to be part of the solution. And of course, for those that are watching as well, to be educated, to get the true news. You don't have to wait for any Q drops and any esoteric forums out there. There's the newamerican.com, updated daily online, and of course, the print magazine as well, twice a month. Well, thank you so much, Evan. Take care, and God bless you.